Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name's Luke, and I am joined by frequent guest and friend of the show, Bobby Murda. Bobby, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on, Luke? Thank you for having me on your show. It's always fun to be interviewed by you. So I'm grateful to be down here and help you and help myself build up this platform.
Indeed, and it's always fun to interview you. You are a 5-0 amateur for people who follow the Mat Factory. They had a great post. You had a TKO second round championship fight on Thanksgiving Eve, so middle of the week fight, Wednesday of last week. And you have declared that you are finishing your amateur career, transitioning to pro. You got your first belt. So a lot of exciting things. Let's go back. A couple months ago, you competed for 247, and at the time you were 4-0 as an amateur. What led you to grab one more amateur fight for a title prior to transitioning to pro?
Yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions, and I'm a little guy that I kind of keep my business to myself. That's something my old man used to always teach me. Never tell people when you're doing something until it's done. But to get to your question, when I first met Isaac in 2021, I believe, or a year and a half ago, and I came here originally to fight for 247, two fights, and then go back. After my second fight, my development with my ground game, my wrestling, jiu-jitsu got so much better, and I fell in love with the progress. And I'm like, damn, what if I stay here for another 2 years or a year and a half? What can happen? Like, how can I develop more? And when I sat down with Isaac and when we spoke, he looked at me and said, kid, he's like, I'll turn you into a world-class grappler and wrestler. Just give me 2 years of development. Just move out here for 2 years, train at the Mag Factory, and I'll turn you into this. I'll make sure you're world-class by the end of this. And I took the word, and Isaac was just a man of his word. And I could tell, man, when body and soul connect. So I just knew that he was it. Because, I mean, anything I do, I always do my research. So when I came into the gym, I already knew who Dom was. This was Dom when Dom was killing it in Bellator. And Dom was the first professional fighter I've met that I was just inspired by him because he was training in Toronto with my coach Striking Concept. So we cross trained, and Dom was the big reason why I came to PA and why I started this MMA career, because I was just around growing up around a bunch of people that I didn't want to be like. So when I finally met Dom, and he just made it so real to me, and he gave me the drive, he gave me the invite. And so I came here in 2009, tried it out for a couple of days. I liked it, but I was working full-time job as a plumber, and I couldn't let it go. So when COVID happened, it was hard. That's where I'm like, you know what? Like, tomorrow is not promised, but let's just do what you love. And it was the hardest thing to accept. So when I finally came over, I feel like training with Isaac and fighting a couple of times for 247, like, just put the dot onto the end. And then I stayed here for 2 years, not 2 years, a year and a half so far. There's still some time for my development, but by the time I turn pro, it'll be a good 2 years that I've trained. And this was Isaac just wanted me to fight. Man, I listen to my coaches. If they tell me to die today, I'll die today. But that's just a joke. But I just listened to, because originally, from where I come from and how I was taught to be raised, you just trained. Your coach came up to you and said, we have a fight, and boom, you sign up. You don't have to worry, game study. A lot of guys now look into too much of topology. They look into styles. Like, that's a lot of outside perception that you're trying to like get from. You just, as long as you're doing your work and you're working hard and you believe in yourself and you go out there and give it all, doing what you can control shouldn't matter.
It's all about focusing on the controllables, because there's always the uncontrollables to anything. But I think the fight game really does point out the value in your self preparation, because your opponent is going to do what your opponent does. Speaking of your opponent, obviously we've talked extensively about Coach Isaac Greeley, who's a legend and was recently inducted as the first inductee ever into the 247 MMA Hall of Fame, which is an honor. It's so great for him, and obviously you talked about it a lot about him. But what's cool on paper, and I know you just said paper doesn't really matter, which is right. but you just fought a 4-0 featherweight MMA prospect as an amateur who could have gone pro, and you were a 4-0. Now you have a really storied 30-some Muay Thai fights. But as far as MMA goes, so what was it like as far as fighting a guy on your caliber, as far as records go? And really, this fight, I could kind of see why your coach wanted you to take it, because this fight sort of just puts a stamp. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So basically, to be honest, I was going through a lot 2 weeks before this fight, a lot with my family, my relationship issues, and just a lot. 2 weeks before this, I was about to quit. I was about to pull out of this fight. Let's just say that. And thank God, I just had great mentors, and my mind is something else. You know, when you put your mind into something, it goes out great. And lastly, so this fight was day of weigh-ins, which is a little bit tough.
Yeah.
So that was a big challenge itself, you know, and I was like a little bit heavy. So I had to cut down, and I had to hire a nutritionist and just treat it like a real pro fight. And what made us take this fight is just putting a stamp on being number one in PA and moving forward, you know, because men lie, women lie, numbers don't, like you said. So I wanted to end up with a statement of winning this fight. And Dustin was a good opponent. He was tough. Getting ready for him, we knew that he was going to bring the pressure. He was going to try to wrestle, get me on the cage. And that's what he did. But one thing a lot of these fighters are forgetting is when they fight amateur, you got to respect the game. And what I mean by that, you cannot go guns blazing for 3 minutes quickly and try to finish this fight. Because when you go pro, you're going to be fighting 5-minute rounds. Unless like some guy comes in, like you got to really pace yourself, right? So like it's going to be a chess game. It's going to be very a chess game. It's going to be like just, you know, very tough game. So I feel like that's one thing a lot of these, that was like the hardest thing to go to amateur, because even when you fight these guys 3-minute round short, they just come hard at you. Like they just bring the fight at you, and you can't really keep it technical in a chess match. So you got to get your hands dirty and give and show a little respect that, hey, like you can't just run over me. I'll stop you. So when I fought Dustin in this fight, there was a lot of obstacles that I had to face, but I was very confident in my preparation, training. 2 weeks before my fight, I went down to Connecticut with Simon, one of my buddies and mentors, and I did a tournament where I had to weigh in 155 pounds day before, and then compete same day. So doing that, putting myself in that situation already where I could compete. Still, it's a fight, you know what I mean? It's jiu-jitsu. Sure. So I got in there, made weight, I competed. I had 4 matches. I won 3 by submission, which gave me hell of a confidence knowing that I'm on the right path and doing this right thing. And then I lost in the finals to a kid that I beat with a Kimura. And then I went in the finals, and then he beat me by 6. The score was 6-2, so he beat me by 4 points. But that gave me so much fuel and confidence going to this fight, doing already something similar to that. And fighting him, it was pretty rough. Round 1, he brought it into me. He was coming in with just straight shots, got me a couple of times in the cage. My takedown defense was very well trained. I got off the cage. I think after a couple of minutes of it, he kind of understood that I was hard to read and deal with, but he still came very hard, and I could tell like he was just letting it all out in the first round. And then I was doing well. I was trying to find my rhythm, just get in there, just try to figure out. One thing he really tricked me is I watched his fights a couple of times. He fought as an orthodox, but this fight he came in as a southpaw. So that kind of surprised me, but I adjusted to that. And then we're doing good. I was winning a couple exchanges. I think he push kicked me in the face, which you're not allowed to do that in MMA scenes. But I love it, man. I haven't been able to kick to the head, push kick to the head, elbows, knees. Like that's half of my arsenal being taken away. So I was basically put in a cup and had to shape and fight modified rules. But so back to the fight, the round 1 was great. I got a deducted point, so I was up on the score. Last 15 seconds, he had me on the cage. I had a reverse Kimura. Last 10 seconds, I had a Kimura. I was yanking it. He was tough, man. He was tough. He just kind of held through the pain, and then Bell hit, and then we separated through my breaks. I think one of the greatest things my coach has said, because he let everything out. My coach Phil and Mary said, "Hey, he showed you everything he had. You already know what this kid's gonna do. So do your game. Be a snake charm and go out there, move your head, and just play with this kid." And that kind of kicked in. That just like motivated me. So when I went in there, I found my groove. I just started faking. He started like dancing like a snake with my fakes. And then from there, I was landing brutal kicks. And then I started just finding my hands. And once I started my hands, I started getting wobbled. And then he just kind of desperately shot for my leg. I just got away, and I just hit him with a couple of ground and pound. And then Chip stopped the fight from there, round 2. So I wanted to go 3 full rounds to get the experience going to pro, and just because my last 2 fights, I want to get experience. I want to get in there and just be long. But, you can't be ungrateful for the outcome. But I mean, there's still work to do. Even though I came out victorious, there's still a couple of small things that I have to work on. I'm satisfied. I'm grateful, but I'm always grateful, but I'm never satisfied. I know that I could have been way more sharper and way more lethal, but it's part of the game.
Well, it is. And you kind of highlighted all the things I like to ask. I always like to ask about mid-fight adjustments, when you get on the stool. So you gave great advice from your coach. It helped more mentally than anything. It wasn't necessarily super technical. It was more about that mindset, getting into that mindset, which can be great. You also pointed out something that people sometimes forget at the pro level, and that is 5 minutes, 3 5-minute rounds. There's a lot of layers. There's a lot of layers to a 5-minute round. And so I'm excited that you're at the level to go pro. And now that you're 5-0, you're number 1 in Pennsylvania and top 10 within the top 10 as Topology in the Northeast. And that's like out of 150 guys. So very high level ranked, which is exciting. We had talked about it before, I think in one of your post-fight interviews, about how your 30 plus Muay Thai fights were already pro rules in the sense of what we anticipate. So I'm going to ask the question. It's not trying to give away your game plan, but out of the knee, elbow, and head kicks, out of the 3 truly pro stand-up, what are you looking forward to the most as far as out of those 3 skills, the knees, elbows, or kicks? And you don't have to answer, of course.
No, all 3 of them. Because I didn't get to show nothing. I didn't get to show no elbows, only like on the body. Well, when PA rules, elbows, knees to the face, everything. Like I was being kept away from the head, like throw my knees, throw my elbows, throw my kicks to the head. So it was very, very hard to modify to PA rules. But I think looking at it from MMA perspective, I think it's the best thing for all the MMA amateurs to go through PA rules. Why? Because some kids might not be about it. Some kids might get in there, and have a couple of fights and be like, you know what, this is not for me. Or some kids might get in there and do good. And it's a tri-state. We have a lot of wrestlers. So the rules kind of favors them. So I'm happy, like at least save someone for 3 fights. Don't let him get hit in the head. Let him figure out. Let him actually get on his back. Let him realize that this is like, if it wasn't for the rules, he would have been dead. So I support the rules. I'm happy because I heard some guys that stout in sparring training, they're like, bashing, you could go to West Virginia, Ohio, head kick in the head. And I'm to myself, I was like, dude, you're not even ready for that. Like, you know what I mean? There's levels to this game. And I feel like the rules are very, very beneficial for upcomers that have 0 experience. Like I had 30 fights. So a fight is a fight, whether it's a boxing, whether it's a wrestling match, whether it's a jiu-jitsu, as long as you get in you gain nerves, you get to face another man face to face and you have to beat him. That's a fight. So some of these wrestlers, I mean, wrestling is cool, but you don't get punched in the face. So it's a little harder, right? But when you do get punched, things change. So I like the rules, but for someone with my experience, it was tough to modify it. But it was good. He put me in tough situations, and I came out victorious with it.
Well, I really appreciate your breakdown of the rules. I always tell people the rules in Pennsylvania, we should call them developmental rules, because that's the idea. The idea isn't to keep somebody trapped. When people look at the novice amateur rules, they act like a person is going to be trapped there forever. It's 3 fights. It's not forever. You've shown the design and I understand that people can have difference of opinions. That's fine. We're just talking opinions here. They're designed to be developmental, exactly to your point, to allow people to get into dangerous situations without getting elbowed or hammer fist unconscious on the ground. And also to your point, which I think you're unique, coming to MMA in a Pennsylvania tri-state, which is heavy wrestling. And you said it, you went to your weakness to work with the Mat Factory to get that to become a strength. And now when you go pro, your striking's always been at pro level. So it's kind of exciting. Whereas we've seen this, if you do the opposite and you take amateur fights where you're allowed striking, like Virginia has pro rules, day one, 0-0. You could have gone in there, murdered somebody with elbows and knees and been pro, and then maybe not have the foundation of wrestling that you needed. So
I agree with you.
One thing what comes to my mind, it's a 247 reference. I'm thinking you saw, it was Tom Kaiser's 170 pro debut. He had a beautiful elbow, but what made the elbow, you're nodding. I know what I saw, but what did you see technically? Because to go from a tight clinch, double Muay Thai clinch to an elbow, most people throw elbows more in separation. What did you like about sort of that off the cage elbow? I'm sure that's the type of Muay Thai stuff you like.
Being on the cage in general is danger, because the more your back is against the wall and someone's trying to take you, the more you're bleeding on the wall. But it comes the knees and elbows comes. Kaiser uses so well that as you could pummel to a different position in between transition, you could hide these little sneaky moves that might not seem a lot, but man, if they're done correctly with the right technique and the right, this is what I tell people when I teach a little bit striking in Mat Factory. Every technique is a perfect technique being used at the right time and the right place for it. So like game changes, man. You seen Kaiser, man. That one elbow put the kid like, and the other, his opponent was pretty well experienced, but the sense of securityness, man. When you go pro, you don't just worry about being taken down. You know, like you got to worry about a million different things that you got to like stay in check. But it's hard, man. It's hard to say this, but without having not experienced. Like I've had a lot of Muay Thai fights. There's like wrestling by like clinching, like upper body, and that's where like a lot of times where I'll get caught or I'll learn in fights that like these little sneaky moves, or even like if someone's on the cage with me and I'm wrestling with them and like they're sliding away, like a nice spinning elbow could work out, right? So I actually tried a couple of spinning back fists in the fight, and almost landed with the elbow, and Chip told me not to throw it. But the technique works. It's just the right time and place. But in the pro level, man, the elbow is more bony than the hand. You know, the hand, I don't know if there's so many cartilages bone, but this elbow is just all bony, and the knees. So it makes a huge impact if a wrestler or grappler learns to use that within his transitions in the fight. But Kaiser used that very well, and I was yelling out elbows in the fights. I don't know if you heard or not, but I was yelling out heavy. Like I could see the openings, and I feel like a lot of guys don't emphasize on that. But
well, it's really cool, and hats off, because Tom Kaiser, I think he sometimes cross trains with you guys, but he's predominantly out of West Virginia. But if anybody wants to go back, I know 247 Live is up and running. They were running a Black Friday sale on being able to watch their fights. But you gave a great mental breakdown of how Muay Thai, the skills of Muay Thai can be really blend into MMA in a really dangerously deceptive way, particularly when people just focus on wrestling offense and wrestling defense. The elbows from clinch, or like you said, even taking a shot, going down and coming back up. We saw Jones doing this up against the cage. He'd go in for a shot and then come up with an elbow because the person will have dropped their hand. So there's a lot of technical things. But for you, this is just so exciting that here you are at the point that you always knew you could be, but to see the development is so exciting. You mentioned it, so I guess I'll ask you this, because we know you're going pro next and all that. What do you find as a coach? Because you mentioned, I know you're like the striking coach, you do a ton of work. What do you find to be beneficial for you as an athlete? Because you're a coach athlete. Obviously, as a coach, people love being coached by you. I've heard a lot of great, but what do you think it helps you as a fighter to be a coach currently?
So it's just like, how does coaching help me becoming like with my fighting career?
Yes.
So I think the biggest thing, I think, coaching little kids and some athletes that are here, I think it just helps me to learn better, because then I start breaking things down
Mm.
to the bone, and then when I break things down to the bone, I'm like, like it just gives me a lot of refresh, checkman. That just gets me a lot of refresh, but also it just helps me to learn, to go back to my roots and to teach. And sometimes I might forget about a little technique, or I might see myself a sparring tape and be like, oh, why is my punch not like that? But when I'm teaching and going over it again and again, and the fundamentals, it just sharpens up my mind. It just sharpens up my mind. It helps me to think a little more outside the box and try different things, but also to understand, like, go back to the basics. Like, I help out with the jiu-jitsu classes sometimes, and they might go over Kimura, and I might be doing Kimura properly, but then that one step
Mm.
to officially to lock it up and like to make it more deadly, I might be missing that. So it's just always good to go back, and just you become a student of the game. You just go back and you're like, oh snap, like I might be doing this, but this is the right way to show the kids. So you just kind of break down and the details, and I think it's just, you learn by watching and explaining more too, but than
Sure.
just doing. So
Sure.
yeah,
I think that's a great, I think that's a great emphasis. If somebody is early in BJJ or boxing or kickboxing, one of the first things I always encourage is, as soon as that person's able to start teaching a technique they know to somebody who doesn't know it, even if it's a jab. If somebody develops a good jab, or you're pointing out a Kimura or a triangle or a guillotine, if somebody is a white belt and they've just learned a guillotine, start trying to teach it even to yourself or to somebody else who doesn't know it, because that really reinforces it. As we wrap up, let's talk about, so I know you're sponsored, you have a fight banner, you're wearing a Project One shirt, which I know is a big deal. So talk a little bit about your
there.
sponsorships and people, yeah, people that you need to thank,
So
because this is a big deal.
awesome. Yeah. So my sponsors were, my main sponsor was Project One. So it's a supplement company that they're opened up last year. They're gonna come up with some big supplements and big line, and then they're gonna be number one in Pittsburgh, just like myself. So I can't wait with that. I just want to thank Greg Rudolph and Patrick Williams for the collaboration and the support. Also, Simon Arias from the Arias
Mm.
Agency. He's been a huge part of my success being here. He's a great mentor and great entrepreneur. So I learned a lot off him. He sponsored me from his company, and yeah, also Team Bruno Wrestling Camp. I've been a huge part of their family. I've been attending their last two wrestling camps. They do a lot of great. It's like a summer wrestling camp. You go and sign up your kids, and they bring like Bo Nickel to John DeJulie, a bunch of these technicians, and you learn a lot from them. The other sponsor is my one of my best friends. He became, like, we grew up together. He became very successful with doing a bunch of. He's an entrepreneur himself, but he became successful doing entrepreneuring, but also with other small companies. So he sponsored me from one of his companies called Six Rims. They like do rims. They fix the rims and dip and color and stuff like that. Rehab center. Uh, they've been keeping me aligned, body in check, and massages. And I just want to give a big shout out to Isaac and Ralph Petraka. Ralph Petraka has been a huge part of my success coming down in Pittsburgh. He helped me a lot financially and stable to stay here and everything else. So I just want to thank uh, Isaac and Ralph for their help. And just Wallace Fitness Center. They're down in Delmont. Their gym. I was training my strength conditioning with Alex Wallace from the Wallace Fitness Center. He's a great dude. Like, my first time interacting with him, my first time training with him, I think he deadlift like 500 something pounds. So when I walked in and I saw him do that, and I'm like, it was just like that day when I walked in first day in the gym and I saw like a world champion. I said, I want to be like this guy. So when I went in the gym and I saw him do like some crazy workouts, I'm like, I want to be like this dude. So yeah, shout out to him, and shout out to my coach Evan Boris. That has been the hardest thing, to be away from my striking coach and like the head coach for 2 years. But I think that just made me grow much better and be more independent and just learn about this game by myself. Because in this life, people are gonna like it's good to have someone to walk you, which have a hand to walk with you. But at some point in life, you have to just let that hand go and discover this world and see what's out there for you. So it's been a hard relationship, but I finally got my visa uh, uh, through my management, first round management. They helped me out. So kudos to them. Finally got my visa. I'll be able to go back in and out to Toronto to get some work with them and fight. So I'm definitely trying to turn pro, but I've been putting extensive work into my development. So I'm planning to get I'm going to Thailand for 2 months, January to like March, hopefully, to train down there, have a little. Obviously, it's not like I don't want to say vacation, but it's like just a good place to train. I'm going to be training down in Bangkok and going down to Tiger Muay Thai, a bunch of other teams. So I'm still going to be training. I'm not going to be goofing around because this is what I do for like living. You know, I love this game, and I'll die for this game. Like it's just this is what I do. So this is my part of my life. So I'm going to be training, and once I come back, then I will. My goal is to fight 4 times this year, next year, build up my portfolio, build up my resume, and I just have to. This is a business now. This is business, you know. Anything I do from the cage, from the training aspect, from my platform to my social media to my stock of my fighting. So this is a business. So I'm gonna sit down with my management, with my coaches, and figure out where, what promotion and what city, what country could be more beneficial for my business, for my brand, for my stock, for me to obviously it's not about financial because I'll do this for free even if I don't get paid for it. I haven't got paid for these last fights, but a little bit of secure my financial stability because obviously I want to invest to properties. I want to have properties. I want to build this up generation wealth because my dad did his dues. He brought us here to a country. He sacrificed his family, sacrificed his life, he sacrificed his comfort to come here to give me a better life, not just for me, but for my kids and the kids' kids. And it just goes for the whole generation. Now the torch is passed on to me as a first generation of kid. So I have to work my butt off to make sure that my kid doesn't have to go beat someone up to make money or to do that. Or just at least it goes to a university, college, whatever you want to do, just so that way you don't have to worry financially and just build the legacy down here for my family's name. So that's something I'm looking forward to. And I'm ready to build on goals. Just like going back to your question, why did I take this fight? Is because at the beginning of the year, I sat down with Isaac, with Simon Arias, with Cody Gamble, all the people. We kind of have a ritual getting together, and we wrote down on this piece of paper, what are your goals for this year? So I wrote down on that piece of paper that I want to go undefeated 5-0 as an amateur. I wanted to have 3 jiu-jitsu matches. I wanted to be better on the wall and on the bottom of getting up with my takedown defense. And then there was other couple of things. So I'm a man of my word. When I say I want to do something, I go after it. So it feels so much relief crossing that 5-0. I did 3 jiu-jitsu tournaments, crossing that. You know what I mean? On my wall takedown, my takedown defense, my wall game has gotten so much better. And there's other couple of things I might not hit, but I'm still working towards that. So I think part of this career is setting goals, is just being realistic with yourself. And that's one thing I want to send a message to other fighters, amateur fighters, is if you really want to do this, don't do this half foot in and half foot out, because you're gonna hurt yourself. You're gonna hurt people around you. You're gonna hurt all the times you put in. Like, be a pro before you turn it like a pro. Do you know what I mean? Like, do this thing, because dude, we're gonna get punched in the face. It's not fun getting your face broken or getting your limbs or getting hurt, getting money lost in the run. So just if you really want to do it, go all in, man. Go all in. Yes, it's not gonna be fun. Yes, you might not make money. Yes, it's not gonna make sense at the beginning, like I came to PA. But if you wake up every day and you treat every day like it's your last, it's gonna happen. Just sacrifice, put in the work in, stay loyal to your coaches. You just need 3 bad, I don't want to swear, but 3 bad motherfuckers that said to take over this world. You don't need 100 people to go to war with you. So just stay loyal to your coaches, do your research, put in the work, and just do this like you mean it. Karma really put this into me when for his last camp, when he was traveling with I was traveling with him to Ohio to train and spar a bunch of guys. But he said, don't do this for money. Do it because you love it, and do it because you really want to do it. Because, man, I seen this last fight. I seen a lot of fighters cut weight, go through all this dark moments, and at the end not get the win. And I see some of them cross train with us, and there's this quote. I'm gonna end this quote and I'm gonna end this thing. It says by David Goggins, says there's 100 men that go to war. 10 of them shouldn't even be there, right? 80 of them are probably just like targets to get hit. 9 of them will actually do the work. And there's only one warrior in that whole pack that were ready to die to do that thing. And when I heard that quote, I was like, eh. But when I came to the gym, I started realizing that some of these guys might not want to do this. And I hate to say it to them, they're just targets. They're going to go out there in that fight and be a target. Why? You know what I mean? Try to just be that warrior. Be that warrior. Don't try to go there and just be that target. Don't just do this because you want to take part and feel happy that you're participating. Because at the end of the day, nobody gets a participation trophy. When you get into that cage, no one cares if you're went through a camp or you had a hard life. They care about winners. Nobody cares how much weight you cut, what you've been through, what your life story is, how you did, or how brutal life was. And nobody cares. Everybody cares is what's going to happen in that cage. So do this 100 or just don't do it at all. I mean, that's my message to the young fighters coming up.
Well, I appreciate your message. I appreciate you taking time. Congratulations again on your great victory, 5-0, meeting your goals, like you said, and also helping people recognize, write those goals down, follow through on them.
Just
Thanks
being
so much.
realistic. Just like being realistic. When I started MMA at the age of 23 years old, I was watching Israel Adesanya. He was coming up. So it was inspiration to see a kickboxer do so well and slowly become a champion. So that gave me hope to start. So when I started and I sat down in my room, I said, okay, how many years would it take for me to start wrestling and doing jiu-jitsu and just getting this whole good understanding? Not becoming an expert at wrestling, but getting a good enough understanding so I could start doing my thing. And I told myself, give me 4 years, Bobby. Give me 4 years. By age of 27, you're going to turn pro. You're going to wrestle for 4 years, and you're going to get better and better, and you're going to work on yourself. And guess what? By next year, March, I'm turning 27. I'm going to be fighting my first pro fight. And just being realistic, man. Just being realistic with your goals. And I'm just happy Isaac gave me the spiel. He said, dude, you need 2 years. Because in my mind, my ego's like, oh, you're good. You can stand with these guys. You can just work on your takedown defense. But the 2 years, I'm grateful. You know, it may not made it sense to me. I was like bothering. Some days I would cry thinking, what did I get myself into? But now it made sense. I'm slowly starting to enjoy the fruits of the labor.
That's a beautiful thing. Congratulations to you and
thank
to
you,
your
man.
team. Thanks for being on.
I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you just having this platform, giving the young bucks to shine, because not a lot of people do this for love and support and give back from their platform. So just grateful to have you in the MMA community and what you do for amateurs and for some pros also, just shining light on us and just giving us the praises. So flowers to you, my friend.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm very honored, and thank you for the kind words. Have a good one.
Thank you, man. You too, brother.